The Gloriana Set by ThebeMoon, read by Alamex Mabella. Chapter 6. The Silver Snitch. Hermione slept in the next morning, not waking until 6:15. She'd been up until nearly midnight, working on her Love Warrior scroll, and didn't really like the result. It didn't help listening to Lavender rave about Bluebell or watching Ginny's silent tears as the redhead tried to write her own essay. Hermione had planned to write about Harry, how her powerful but platonic love for him gave her the strength to fight over the years. But instead, she found herself writing about her parents, how she took a terrible risk to protect them at the risk of losing them forever. She wondered what Malfoy would write about. Would he write about his own parents? According to his testimony at trial, it was Voldemort's hideous threats to his mother that prompted him to let Death Eaters into the castle to try to kill Dumbledore. How could love be the best defense in those circumstances? Didn't Voldemort only turn Malfoy's love into a weakness? Dark thoughts for first thing in the morning, and Hermione was in no mood to write her 5 things to look forward to. But again, a disciplined mind was important. 1. Breakfast. 2. She still hadn't visited Hagrid. 3. Another walk by the lake. 4. Arithmancy, where they were studying a particularly knotty 7-dimensional theorem. She couldn't think of a 5. Not with Ron and Ginny depressed and Malfoy denying her his runestone and codex. Git. Finally she wrote 5. The morning flyer. She'd found a sort of peace in watching the mysterious figure and hoped he or she wouldn't stop practicing once trials were over. With that thought, she rushed through her morning routine and was at the window promptly at 7:30, scanning the sky. Her breath hitched when she saw the flyer sailing around the North Tower, silhouetted against the rising sun. The rider shot straight up, then down before launching into a series of loops. She followed the figure, searching for a hint to his or her identity. And what was... Then she saw it. A flash outside her window. Fascinated, she watched a silver bar flit outside her window, tiny wings fluttering. It was so tiny. How could a seeker even see? A shadow flew by the window, and she nearly screamed aloud. The flyer had found the snitch, of course, had missed it by inches, and was returning for another try. The snitch continued to hover outside Hermione's window, teasing and sparkling in the growing light. Hermione was reaching to close the curtain when she saw the figure approach at high speed, hood thrown back, platinum hair shining. Hermione didn't hesitate. She grabbed her wand, pointed it at the window, vanishing a single pane of glass. A gust of cold wind whipped the room's bed curtains, and she heard Ginny mutter irritably. The snitch shot through the open pane and zipped around the room, reminding Hermione of Pig, Ron's wee owl. She suddenly leaped backwards, choking back another scream, for there was Malfoy on the other side of the window, and he looked furious. She shivered, remembering the constant snarl from earlier years, but she had a plan, and it didn't involve releasing the snitch at that time. Instead, she waved her wand and restored the glass pane. Another wave, and the window curtains snapped shut, hiding the outraged Slytherin from view. Not even Malfoy would break into a girl's dorm before breakfast. Get a bad boogie hex from Ginny if he even tried. "What's up?" asked Lavender's sleepy voice. "Nothing," Hermione said. She pointed her wand at the snitch. "Accio snitch," she whispered, and the bauble fluttered into her hand. It was beautiful, really, shining silver with DLM engraved in Old English letters. A gift, probably. Yes, this would do nicely. Holding the snitch with one hand, Hermione dug through her trunk with the other and emerged with a box her watch came in. A back-to-school gift from her parents, and the perfect size. She placed the snitch inside the box, tucked it into the robe pocket, and left the bedroom. A few minutes before breakfast was all she needed. Then she just had to wait. She didn't have to wait long. Malfoy stalked her all the way to Ancient Ruins after glaring at her through breakfast. "Give me my snitch," he snarled, backing her slowly against the corridor wall. "Oh, was that yours?" she asked coolly. Her hand touched the wand inside her robe pocket. He noticed the movement, but didn't back off and in. "Don't play with me, Granger. You've seen me practice with it. You've been watching me." "Yes," she admitted readily. "That move this morning, was it the wonky feint?" Malfoy ground his teeth. "Wronski feint, you daft. I think you'll make a brilliant finder." "Seeker," he snapped. Hermione rolled her eyes. Too easy. A fairy calls him a lovely boy in front of the whole class, and he handles us with aplomb. Hermione takes a little ball and purposely garbles a few words, and the man completely unravels. "Now, you listen to me, Granger." "Mr. Malfoy? Miss Granger?" Would you care to join us? Headmistress McGonagall stood in the classroom doorway, looking like she'd never seen a ring of posies in her life. Of course, Headmistress, Hermione chirped, flouncing into the classroom and sitting down. Malfoy followed more slowly, his face like stone. Hermione pulled out a fresh sheet of parchment and wrote the following in runes. Malfoy, 8 p.m. at the pen and charms classroom. Bring the codex and a runestone and we'll make a deal. H.J.G. P.S. Wacky faint. She rolled it up with a tap of her wand and bound it in bright red and gold ribbon, then rendered the scroll invisible and floated it over to Malfoy's desk. The scroll reappeared in his hands, and he read it swiftly, then turned to her and nodded, his face grim. Hermione smiled. Maybe ancient runes would be fun after all. The potions table was quiet that morning. Ron was still subdued after the last data seminar, and Malfoy and Hermione worked together silently, so Lavender was the only conversationalist. You slice these bat spleens so well, Draco, she cooed. I like a man who's good with his hands. Ron groaned. Honestly, Lavender, give it a rest. I'd rather not lose my breakfast. Hermione could only agree, but Malfoy's eyes were now glittering dangerously. I think it's lovely, she said loudly. A Slytherin prince tamed by a gentle Gryffindor sweetheart. Malfoy froze in the act of preparing the spleens, looking revolted. Romilda Vane at the next table nearly fell off her stool in the effort to hear better. I think Brown knows better than that, Malfoy said quietly as he set aside the spleens and started on a pile of leeches. It's sometimes hard to admit one's feelings, Hermione told Ron. Granger, Malfoy growled. Now what have we here? Boomed Slughorn, who had given up his usual MO of dozing at his desk to frequently check on their table. Very, very nice. Mr. Malfoy, remember to press the leeches gently with your knife. Don't smash them so. He moved away to check on Romilda and her partner's potion, which steamed suspiciously. Don't listen to him, Draco, Lavender said. I think you're pressing the leeches wonderfully. Malfoy's left eye twitched, but he refrained from comment. The exchange cheered Ron up, though, at least enough for him to solicit Hermione's help. An infusion of wormwood was enough to counteract the excessive doxy venom he'd used, and his and Lavender's potion now looked almost identical to Hermione's and Draco's. Ron's good mood was even more improved when Hermione pulled him aside after class and presented him with a parchment. It listed 3 things to love about Malfoy: his skills in potions, his patience with Lavender, and his quiet, reserved manner this year. Reserved? Ron repeated. Malfoy? Compared to the past year, I'd say so, Hermione answered. Look, there's nothing to object to here. The assignment is over, and you look like the better man. All right, Hermione, he said. Thanks. He stuffed a scroll in his pocket. Are we still on for Saturday? Why wouldn't we be? She asked. Well, you've been sort of tetchy lately. That's because you keep pushing, she said. We're friends, right? I don't know about the future, but right now we're friends. She hoped repeating the words would help it sink in. Let me relax around you, Ron. She took his hand. Please. Okay, he said, looking down at their entwined fingers. It's just hard after we... I know, she said softly. I'm just not sure we're good together that way. Do you really want me bossing you around? Ron raised his eyebrows and grinned. That depends on what we're doing. She frowned and he raised his hands. Just a little fun, I'll behave, really, friends. Hermione linked her arm through his. Friends. Ginny looked much better at dinner, chattering happily about the Hufflepuff Quidditch tryouts the night before. Ravenclaw tryouts were that evening, with Slytherin the next day, and Hermione let her compare the house's likely strengths and weaknesses without interruption. Then Ginny and Ron ran off to watch the Ravenclaws, and Hermione completed her transfiguration homework in the library before heading to the pen and charms classroom. Malfoy was there first, just as before, again sitting cross-legged on the desk. She supposed it was a Slytherin thing to turn up early and take command of the room in such situations. He certainly didn't bother with punctuality any other time. Well, where is it? He demanded as she entered. She dropped her back on the floor. Where's the codex and the runestone? Malfoy crossed his arms. I didn't bring them. Too bad, no Snitch for you. He upped off the desk and moved closer, forcing Hermione to tilt her head back to keep eye contact. I want that Snitch, Granger, he said. It's valuable, and I won't be blackmailed with something that's rightfully mine. Get used to it. That smart mouth will get Accio Snitch. Malfoy's wand was in his hand, and he cast a spell before she could react. Clever. Good thing she'd surrounded the Snitch with a repelling charm. Expelliarmus, she snapped, backing away, her own wand in hand. Malfoy's wand nearly took off his hand with the force of her spell. Now she had both wands, and felt considerably more comfortable. Run along now, Malfoy, and get that Codex Instinct for me. I don't have all night. Malfoy almost smiled. No. Don't make me hex you. She half expected him to lunge at her, and so held her wand up chest high, back straight. Instead, with whip-quick seeker reflexes, he drew a vial out of his pocket, uncorked it, and released a cloud of fine grey dust into the air. It scattered down and disappeared, and Hermione felt strange. What was that? She stammered, stepping back. His smile broke through his eyes, meeting hers again. Salt of the earth. Hermione blinked. How did he get that? Salt of the earth was an incredibly difficult powder to procure. Its creation required, among other things, the blood of a troll and 6 months of brewing. Brought it from home. Just another precious asset from my ancient wizarding house, he sneered. She frowned. Salt of the earth had many uses, but its most obvious effect was to temporarily nullify any use of magic within a limited radius. Hermione tried to remember how long the salt's effects lasted, but she knew almost nothing about the substance. She moved to keep a table between them, but Malfoy wasn't looking at her. Instead, he picked up her bag and unceremoniously dumped it out on a teacher's desk. Books, quills, and scrolls tumbled out, as well as 2 lipsticks, her looped notebook, and a wrapped chocolate tart from dinner. The color-coded study guides blinked merrily from the floor. Where is it, Granger? He asked, tossing her bag aside. I know you brought it. He stepped closer, and now he was watching her, and it took every ounce of self-control not to step back again. The table between them suddenly looked very flimsy. All this over little Snitch? She asked lightly. It's mine, he said, every inch the possessive pureblood. You stole it to force me to show you other valuable objects that are also mine, artifacts I showed you out of... He stopped. Out of what? She asked curiously. Why did you share the codex with me? They were circling the table now, and his grey eyes were bright. Hermione's heart was pounding, her wand in a tight fist. She had nothing but delaying tactics now, and the second that powder's effects expired, she was going to... It doesn't matter, he said. What matters is that I showed you the codex, and you chose to insult me and my... You asked me what I was thinking. What did you expect? A little gratitude, maybe. We Malfoys don't share lightly. We don't share anything with mudbloods, I know, she snapped, still circling. Forgive me for not falling to my knees to the great Draco Malfoy who deigned to act like a human being to a filthy... Damn her tongue. He looked murderous now. Don't say that again. Malfoy snarled. Don't even start that shit, Granger. That kind of thinking destroyed my family, destroyed my fucking life. He stalked around the table, never breaking eye contact. Hermione tried a nonverbal spell. Nothing. She thought about simply running from the room and hiding until the assault wore off, but her pride wouldn't let her, and he would surely beat her to the door. Give me back my snitch, Malfoy growled. Tell me why you showed me the codex. If she broke eye contact for an instant, he'd be on her like a cobra. He stopped circling and smiled thinly. If the snitch isn't in the bag, it must be on your person, Granger. It isn't. I don't believe you. His tone was mocking, his eyes moving down her body. He was practically licking his lips. Hermione flushed. So that was his game. The prim proper bookworm trapped by the big bad sex god Slytherin. Well, she wasn't having it. She wasn't going to quail and whimper. Oh, no, you wouldn't. Stop, oh, stop. While he queued up some one-size-fits-all seduction technique to search her body, she clutched her wand tighter. Nothing. Fine, Hermione said in a crisp, bossy tone. She slammed her wand on the table between them. I'll prove it, and you will apologize for questioning my word. She thinned her lips, just like McGonagall at her most disapproving, and began slowly unbuttoning her white uniform shirt. Oh, if she only had a working wand or muggle camera to capture the absolutely gobsmacked expression on Malfoy's face as she stripped off her shirt and waved it at him. See, no snitch. She pulled it back on and fastened 2 buttons before stepping away from the table and attacking her skirt. Damn it, the zipper was stuck again. She was losing the moment. Malfoy edged nearer. Need some help. Damn and triple damn, all right then. Careful to keep her expression McGonagall stern, she grabbed the skirt at the seam and pulled. It was an old skirt, and a sharp ripping of cloth echoed in the empty classroom. Malfoy blinked and froze, staring as the plaid wool fell to the floor. Nope, nothing to see, Malfoy, she said in her snippiest tone. I wouldn't say that. He gave her a slow smile as his eyes travelled down her stockinged legs, then up to the hem of her shirt. She'd called his bluff, and now he was calling hers. And he was on the move again, closing the space between them. How long did that damn powder last? Time to roll the dice. Hermione lunged for her wand, almost crying in relief when she felt a familiar warmth rushing up her arm. Protego! She shouted, and the strength of her shield charm sent Malfoy crashing back into another table. Accio Draco's wand! She added, and the wand slapped smartly into her palm. A wordless wave, and her skirt wrapped around her hips and repaired itself. Another wave, and her shirt buttoned right up to her chin. She pointed her wand at Malfoy, who was just regaining his balance. Petrificus totalis, she said, almost lovingly, and Malfoy dropped to the floor, his body stiff. Hermione waved the wand at her bag, which packed itself up neatly and leaped onto her shoulder, then pointed the wand at the ceiling. Finita incantatem, she said, ending both the repelling charm and the sticking charm, and the box with the snitch fell from its sticking point on the ceiling to land on the stone floor before Malfoy's prone body. Only his silver eyes moved, mad with rage. Satisfied, she stepped closer and laid his wand beside his hand. I've changed my mind, she said, looking down at him coldly. I don't want your snitch, or to look at any of your stupid, illegal artifacts. I don't know why you showed me that codex or appeared to care what I thought about it, but I'm through. You asked me a question, I gave you an honest answer. You couldn't take it, and then chose to punish me for my candor. She walked to the door and turned to face him. Ye gods, Malfoy, you're just like Ronald. Hermione waved her wand one last time as the door slammed shut behind her. The charmed lamps extinguished themselves, leaving one shocked wizard alone in the dark. She walked briskly through the halls, heart pounding. She didn't know how long Malfoy's paralysis would last, since she'd purposely made the spell rather weak. Possibly too weak, but better to hurry now than risk leaving him frozen for a day. Vanity puffs, she told the fat lady, hopelessly trying to tame her hair and cool her cheeks. She made it halfway across the common room before anyone noticed her presence. Hermione, can you help me with— Hey, Hermione, what's the proportion of honey water with horklump juice in the— What's the hurry? Do you know the answer to the question? Panting, Hermione ignored them all. Let them look in a fucking book for once. She pounded up the stairs, clutching the banister as she climbed. Once in her room, she changed into her penguin pajamas and watered her bed. She settled under the covers, then got out of bed and watered the windows. Twice. Back in bed, however, as Hermione's heart slowed in the quiet pace of the room, she began to chuckle at herself. Why would Malfoy chase after her anyway? He'd gotten what he wanted. He had his artifacts, his beloved Snitch, and even a little strip show on the side. What did he have to complain about? Maybe she'd overreacted in the charms classroom. There she was, swanning around the castle, telling everyone not to be scared of the big bad Malfoy, and the second the man threw some powder around, she completely lost her mind. Some war heroine she was. What did she think Malfoy was going to do? Crucio the snitch out of her? It was the lack of magic that was it. To be in a situation like that again, trapped and helpless, unable to stop. Yes, that was it. She closed her eyes, slowing her breathing, and there he was. It must be on your person, Granger. It isn't. I don't believe you. She turned on her side, heart suddenly pounding again. He was looking at her. It must be on your person, Granger. It isn't. I don't believe you. Back in the charms classroom, her every nerve ending had screamed like a klaxon. Flight, flight, flight! She couldn't let him touch her or— It must be on your person, Granger. It isn't. I don't believe you. Suddenly, they weren't in the classroom anymore. They were in Arthur Weasley's muggle shack with the broken appliances and the shop vac. Malfoy stepped closer, whispering, It must be on your person, Granger. It isn't, she whispers back. His breath is in her ear, his hand on her hips. I don't believe you. Hermione opened her eyes. Damn it. To be continued. Thank you for listening to The Gloriana Set by ThebeMoon, read by LMX Mabella. If you would like to stay up to date on upcoming chapters and stories, you can follow me on AO3, YouTube, or Spotify.